Incoming transmission from an unknown source. It seems to be urgent. Patching them through. They're calling themselves the HoloNet Marauders.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the HoloNet Marauders podcast. How's everybody doing? We got Shelbi in here this week, who you guys have seen her on our show before a few times, right? We've played games. Yeah. I don't think she's enjoyed any of them.
We get to talk about the movies today.
Talk about a movie today.
Finally.
Movie.
And fun fact, you guys probably saw in the credits or whatever, but Shelbi helped produce our Fan Expo show. So thank you very much to Shelbi.
She was our one-woman show, honestly. We
yeah.
sat on the panel, but Shelbi
Great
did
all
everything. So
Yeah.
we cannot thank Shelbi enough. So thank you, Shelbi.
Thank you.
Guys. Thank you everyone who came to the panel, and thank you to everyone who watched it on YouTube.
Yeah, they got a good reaction, so that was exciting.
Yeah.
But I'm AJ, and I'm joined here by
Oh,
Jamie and
really?
Matt. I did it backwards this week. It's a nice change of pace, though.
Yeah, that was good.
If we do it every time, is it backwards? Because I don't know, it's a pattern. Anyway, so you're AJ, you're Matt, and I'm Jamie. And
Yeah.
Shelby's our guest.
I'm Matt.
Not this Darth Vader, but Shelby's our guest. And we're gonna talk about Rogue One today, which is
Yeah.
different for our vibe. Just gotta say that up front.
I guess. I mean, I guess should I give the backstory about Rogue One with us, Jamie? Just, I gotta be upfront about it. So
We like Rogue One. That's first of all.
we were still on the Force Awakens high back in 2015, 16, 17, 18, and now even still in 2021. But
Force Awakens comes out in 2015, right? Rogue One was the next movie to come out 2 years later, right? Or the year
Yeah.
after.
Rogue One came out a year after
2016.
Right.
Yeah.
So we were riding the high of the new sequel trilogy, and then Rogue One just comes out, and it's just a pure timing thing. The timing of the movie didn't line up for me, and I didn't enjoy it as much as I could upon release. And like looking back on it now, like I love Rogue One, but like when it first came out, I was just like, I don't care. There's literally a picture of me in the theater afterwards, just like,
And I'm like, was that Vader?
I liked it, but I was like,
Yeah, it just doesn't. It still doesn't. It's a great movie. It is a great movie. Capital letters, great. Caps lock. But it just doesn't click with me, and I think that's understandable. If a movie doesn't click with you and the characters don't click with you, like I love Cassian. I'm excited we're gonna get Cassian. So Jamie and I rewatched it like 3 weeks ago, and everything from like the middle of the movie to the back, I'm like, this is great. Scarif, unbelievable. Everyone's sacrifice is great. The Vader hallway scene is amazing. It's like the best Vader scene we ever get. And it is, some of the Vader stuff I think is fan servicey in Rogue One. But I don't care. I never care about fan service in Star Wars because I'm a fan and it's servicing me as a fan. And it works, especially this stuff in Rogue One. But I don't know. I love Krennic. Krennic's a great villain.
Oh, Krennic's probably one of my favorites.
Yeah, absolutely. And
he's really good. I feel like he's really like underrated. At least like, and then if I say something in this episode in which I'm just like, oh, that's really underrated, it's because I'm not in the Rogue One conversation ever. So in my brain, he's really underrated.
I don't think we've ever.
Krennic's my favorite. I need more like space, like middle managers, just like
yeah.
doing the best.
And we've all kind of been in Krennic's shoes in our lives, right? Like this
Getting
is my
blasted by
achievement,
the
and someone
Death
else is
Star,
getting and getting blasted by the Death Star.
Oh
That's
yeah,
me
and
whenever I
there's
walk out in the sun.
Yeah.
there's so many quotes, but I quote Krennic all the time. Like, am I still in command? Like that's what. Like, oh shit. But
Blinds deploy the garrison.
He's got
Like,
he's literally like the most quoted person from Rogue One, I'd say, is Krennic.
Yeah.
He's got the most quotes.
We were
Well,
this close.
that's his thing. That's his thing. Is he's good at like talking and good at like persuasion, kind of. And like I guess I gotta bring this up like now, but like I loved the book Rogue One Catalyst, which is like the lead up to Rogue One, and so it gives you the full backstory, not full, but pretty much a huge backstory of Galen Erso and Lyra Erso and Krennic of how they worked together, and then Galen's entire project in the Death Star, and it was just really, really interesting. Much more interesting than the movie.
Okay, before we get too far into talking about Krennic, I want to give me and Shelby's backstory to Rogue One. Exact opposite, polar opposite reaction. We went into Rogue One with zero expectations. I remember we were like, we had a trip
It was
in
you, me, and
school.
Zach, and then we met your friends there, right?
Not my friends. Zach's friends. Well, now they're
Oh.
my friends because
Who were those
we see
people?
movies together.
They went, and then a bunch of people met them there.
Yeah.
Who are
Yeah,
these
our other
people?
my former roommate Zach at school. So we showed up, zero expectations. We went into the movie after hearing Zach's friend's theory that the entire cast of Rogue One was the Knights of Ren, which totally panned out.
Well-
We made fun of him after the movie. And it was like 2 hours and 20 minutes of me just going, whoa, wow. Just over and over again in the theater. The everybody was like animated and hyped and cheering at like everything. Like when Vader came on screen, there was like just a hush, like whoa, like and it just continued like the whole time. Like Scarif was literally just cheers, 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 like the whole time. People like whooping and laughing and having fun, and then Vader slaughtered everybody, and people were having even more fun. It was just,
Is
just
that
like one of those
is-
crazy theater experiences that just blows your mind.
It really was, yeah. I think for me it was the theater experience, and also like this is the first of the like in-betweeners
Yeah.
as far as like Star Wars films go. So
Yeah.
I can see where like Jamie and AJ are coming from, but I think that it set my expectations a little too high.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For
I
what was,
definitely-
but I know you guys love Han Solo, but we're not talking about that today.
No.
No.
I mean, like for like the in-betweeners, like in that sense of like I love that they did the two anthology movies, so of Solo and of Rogue One, and I love them both for their own reasons. Which is funny because looking back on it, I could not say that I loved Rogue One at like when upon release. Like loving it has come about recently, just because I've learned to like the more you watch it, the better it gets, kind of thing with Rogue One for me.
Right.
And I think that's something that like AJ and I like talk about all the time. Is like it's not something that you like lightly watch because it is so sad, and it is a war movie at its core. It's not a space fantasy like everything else. Rogue One is a war movie.
Oh, yes.
It's not as big of in like the space fantasy genre, and so it just feels totally different. And I feel like that is a big reason why so many people love Rogue One, is because it is so different than the rest of the Star Wars stories.
And people love that like rebellion vibe and whatnot, and that's what the movie's literally about. I guess that doesn't
You know what I learned the
that
other
greasy
day?
rebellion vibe. It doesn't click. with
Greasy
me, but-
rebellion.
Greasy rebellion vibe. I love
That's
that.
me, dude. I'm
I love
Greasy Rebels.
But loving the rebellion vibe. I didn't realize this until literally yesterday. The line that Jyn says, "This is a rebellion, isn't it? I rebel." That's not in
Right.
the
No,
movie.
thank God.
totally-
I hated
totally
that line
forgot.
in the trailer.
That's a trailer like
It
quote.
like
was.
that line, I
Well,
guess.
because
But that's
that,
on every single piece of merch about Jyn. It's her quote is "I rebel," and
The
she
movie
doesn't even
got-
say it in the movie.
the movie got like
this is
completely
where-
recut in the third act.
Isn't that insane?
Like just
Yes.
completely rearranged.
So this is when some disasters start happening with like as far as like Star Wars production goes, because
yeah.
I rewatched the trailer and it's completely different. Amazing trailer.
Yeah.
The siren or whatever the
Yeah.
hell it's called.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the same.
Amazing. But yeah, you can tell that, like something just happened with the third act. They just went back. There were troubles with reshoots, I'm pretty sure,
Hmm.
but
But they figured it out, I'd say.
You know what I just
yeah,
remembered?
it worked out. But you
The
can tell-
trailer for Rogue One came out when we were all on a trip to New York City with school.
Yeah, we were on
And
the
I
bus
remember
to New York City.
In like unison, like we're all like watching like the trailer like on our phones like collectively, and you just
Yeah,
hear
on
the
the bus.
siren going off at like different
Like,
intervals.
popping like
across
on the bus, it would pop up like over here on the seat and over there and like in the
Because
front and in
for
the back.
context,
Like,
it was a bus full of like film and TV majors going to New York City, so we were all super interested, in Star Wars.
yeah.
yeah.
So yeah, that was
AJ, were
Yeah.
you there for that?
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
kicking the back of my seat like this isn't the sequels. I remember
Yeah.
I remember not loving that trailer. It's a great trailer. Well, once it's the same
mean,
feeling I have for Rogue One.
That's so
I
funny.
remember being hyped about
great
the
thing,
trailer,
but-
but again, I
You're
wasn't
hyped about
hyped about this
everything, though.
movie. I wasn't hyped
You're right.
about this movie at all. And
It
then,
is just in the back. This isn't Kylo Ren.
I think that same weekend, Force Awakens came out like on Blu-ray, and I was watching it in my room like the night before. My first ever Kylo Ren cosplay like came in the mail from China. I was wearing that, and then we're going to New York, and I'm like, I don't want to watch Rogue One.
He was really embracing me and Kylo Ren that entire weekend. So
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. That's where my mind was at. Maybe that's a bit unfortunate because Rogue One is like a masterpiece. I understand that, but
Again, it goes back to the timing of things. And like for
Right.
like a casual Star Wars fan, there's so much confusion as to when Rogue One takes place, even though it is abundantly clear there is a Death Star. They're getting the
Yeah.
plans for the Death Star.
People thought
Princess
Jyn was
Leia shows up
Rey.
at the end.
They literally
People thought Jyn was
resurrected
Rey.
Peter Cushing
Yeah, like
just to show you,
people-
like, hey,
Disney
Look.
figured it out.
like
Yeah.
yeah,
shout out to my friend Rohan. He's a big Star Wars fan, at least is whatever.
Yeah,
That's a
he
story
is.
for another day. So he never knows when we just saw him the other day. Intern Rohan delivered our coffee for us. Thank you, Rohan. He doesn't know when any Star Wars movie ever takes place. He saw Solo, so the separate thing here, and he was like, "When does this take place? Is this like during the prequels?" And I'm like, "Dude, there's stormtroopers and there's the Empire. What are you watching?"
that's something that like it's just like the people who make Star Wars can't like over explain it, and like it
Right.
does make sense at a basic level, but like this is why the timing of the release for me like it made sense for me like in the story. Like I knew when Rogue One take place, and like I know when The Force Awakens takes place, but for a casual fan, they think it's like a direct sequel, so it didn't make sense for that release, especially for movies. Like if you're doing like movies and then shows, like yeah, you can jump around with like the timelines, that's totally fine, but like with the movie releases, it confused the heck out of people, and I think they realized it, but how they didn't market Solo at all. They were just like, let's just release it. And it's like
You know what would have
When,
helped with that confusion?
What's that?
They put a title crawl at the beginning of Rogue One. I don't know why they didn't put a title crawl at the beginning of Rogue One, and that
I
still
don't-
bugs me to this
You and I
day.
are on this thing of I don't want title crawls.
I
unless it's a
want
saga
title
movie.
crawls. Every like pre-Disney purchase, every single
true.
property, Star Wars property, had a title crawl, and even post-Disney purchase, everything has a title crawl except Rogue One, Solo, and The Mandalorian. Everything
Not
else,
Fallen
like
Order.
the comics, the books, well, yeah, I guess Fallen Order doesn't either. So it's like all the visual media doesn't, but like they do it for like the books and the comics for some reason, and they do it for like in the audiobooks and the audio drama they did it.
True.
It's like where are we? Why are we in this
Good
thing?
point.
Am I never ever going to see the title crawl again if they
you
they,
get
like-
like do you get anything in the beginning of Rogue One though? Because you get like
No.
3 like lines in the beginning of Solo. That's like
it does that
No,
cheesy.
it's just
It's
It's
just
cool.
the
long
cheesiest
time ago in
font.
a
for-
galaxy far, far away, and then it just cuts.
When it says
the
Rogue
credits
One
show.
eventually, it's like what font did they use for that?
Yeah, and
They made that
then
thing in
Rogue One
iMovie.
comes up later.
Yep, there's different font, everything. I interpreted it as a like the reason why there was a title crawl was because it was based on those like serials that George Lucas would see
Yeah.
growing up and stuff, and you wouldn't see those in order. There was no binging; you'd have to go to the theater to see it. So that's just like okay, reminding you where we are in the timeline for I don't know, like. I don't know,
Yeah.
whatever samurai movies he was watching back then or cowboy movies or whatever. But I always took it as, this is where it started, I guess. Because isn't this entire thing, Rogue One is mentioned in the title crawl
Yeah.
for A New Hope.
I guess that's like
Yeah.
the best explanation you could give
Hmm.
is that literally
So is that
Rogue
what
One
they were
is the
trying
title
to do?
crawl.
However, I will agree with you guys, that once you get into the story, it's clear that we're in the middle of something. It's not the beginning of the war.
Yeah.
It's not,
Right.
Yeah.
and it's strange because it's still technically not the first one because we have the prequels.
Yeah,
So-
exactly.
It's kind
It
of
was
all over the place.
Episode like 3.5. I know people used to call it that. I'd call it like 3.9, like right
Mhm.
before episode 4.
Kenobi will be 3.5.
Yeah, Kenobi will literally be 3.5.
Right.
No. Oh,
Well, yeah, that's what
I don't
people
like
used
it.
to call it.
I don't
Why?
like it.
Why
I
don't
don't
you
like
Well,
it
like
at all.
what?
They call it 3.5, 3.2, 3.9. No, they're not episodes. They're standalone movies. Like
Right. People
Well, yeah.
they're going out of their way to not make them episodes, and we're like, you know what? We'll make this 3.5 in our minds.
Well,
That's a good point.
my only thing is that when we were watching like The Mandalorian with one of the people I was showing The Mandalorian to didn't know when it took place. Like even like, and it could just be like so easy to just put like a title call at the beginning of the show, like not even the beginning of each episode, just at the beginning of the show
You
itself,
don't-
just to explain where we are, because that is exactly what a title crawl was supposed to be. That's what the serials were.
This is
Yeah.
definitely like a
Explain exactly
big
what you're
debate that they
missing.
have like within Lucasfilm like daily of how much
Definitely.
information do we need to provide the audience with, and the answer at the end of the day is not that much because people will figure it out.
They
And
threw
I'm
Maul
sorry if
into
they're
Solo.
confused.
They threw
Like-
Darth Maul into Solo for like, go Google it. I don't care.
But
We're not
yeah,
holding your
exactly.
hand.
Because like that is like a really fun reveal, and then like
Yeah.
honestly, like
But then
everything.
they also put a semi-title crawl into Solo.
Yeah, with the
Yeah,
I
I,
like-
thought that
I like
was
that
weird
one.
when we saw Solo. I was like, why is there a title crawl for this?
Well,
'Cause
it's
I just
good.
It's not a title crawl.
gives you
Oh.
the backstory of we're on Corellia and this is what's happening there, and then
Yeah. Or I don't know. I wish they just made a decision with that and just be like, it's only for the trilogies or whatever. I would be fine with
I
that.
think that's what they're
Yeah.
doing.
Matt,
Stuff with it. But again, like Matt said, it's in everything else.
right, yeah.
I think they
It
even
could
poked
be
fun.
an In-Betweeners movie, but they're books or whatever. But
I think they even poked fun at a title crawl because the planet that Rogue One starts at, I forget the name of it, where they're hiding out.
What
The
is
Ring
it?
of Kafrine.
They make the
No.
rings of the planets, the planet kind of. It looks like a title crawl. It
That's
looks
kinda
really
funny.
weird. I
I
remember
never even
thinking it
thought of
was like
that.
a weird. It does go if I don't know how I remember this, and you might not, but like
I remember
You've
the
seen it
beginning of the
probably.
movie looking amazing in IMAX. That also could have been a big factor as to why I liked it, because that was the first Star Wars movie I saw in IMAX.
oh yeah, we saw it in IMAX. So
Oh,
yeah,
that's
there it is. That's
you
the
guys,
poster
it,
from the
it
showing.
sounds like you guys had like an amazing theater
Oh my
experience.
God, I don't think I've ever
we
can't
didn't
say that,
have that
but
at all.
I
don't
think other
Jamie.
than
before
Force-
Rogue One.
I think other than like Force Awakens, that was a great.
I was
Also,
Force
so
Awakens
hyped.
was the
Yeah.
as I always
Theater,
say,
both of
best time
those.
I'll have in a movie theater. Force Awakens, such a blast. But I guess let's
So-
get down to like the actual
Yeah, let's like talk about some
movie.
aspects of it.
So like we'll go around and we'll say, we'll start with Shelby if you want, or we'll start with Matt, whoever. What's your favorite favorite thing from Rogue One? If you had to pick one.
well, there's my favorite married couple in all of Star Wars. I think they're great together. Jura and
Jared and Baze, Malbus.
Trent and Baze.
Oh,
Jared and
yeah.
Baze.
They're the best.
I love how you just refer to them immediately as your favorite married couple because they are. Like
They're
they,
the only-
Essentially, yeah.
they are.
they're the only healthy relationship in this entire galaxy. I don't understand it. I cry every time he goes, "I don't need luck. I got you." And I'm like,
I know. They're just they're so good. And
Jared
so cute.
is legitimately such a good character. Like he's
Yeah.
so good.
Mhm.
I think one of the biggest things I always think about when I think of Chirrut is how StarWars.com does not list him as force sensitive, and it makes no sense because he's literally
he
force
is.
sensitive.
This is a little bit,
Very
but
force sensitive.
Yeah.
I think he's very force sensitive. He's like, Cassian's about to kill somebody because I could sense the force like around him. That's super
I know.
sensitive.
He's super force sensitive, yeah.
So what do you do in
And
Star
he
Wars?
relies on it, yeah.
Lucasfilm,
I know.
Listen.
I know this,
fix that.
and I noticed this like recently. Like Baz, like Terrell kind of mentions, like he was one of the most devoted like protectors of it, and
Yeah.
something happened, and I'm like, well, what happened? We never-
something really intrigues me is the Guardians of the Wills. Like I want to know so much more about them. And like we have like the short stories, like the kids version and the new manga of about Baze and Chirrut, which is like the Guardians of the Wills, which I haven't read yet. I bought it, but I haven't read it yet. I want to know everything about that. Like I want to know like what happens on Jeddah and like what actually the Guardians are for. Why are they separate than the Jedi? Why are they still kind of around at this point in time? Like why haven't they been persecuted like the Jedi were? Like
Yeah.
I really want to know. And that's one of my
That-
biggest questions like from Rogue One at this point is who are the Guardians of the Wills and why are they still around? Kind of.
That's probably using that as a segue. I would probably say that is my favorite aspect of Rogue One is Jeddah.
Mhm.
Everything on Jeddah. The introduction of all these like different Force religions, like the Guardians of the Wills, the Brothers of the Beatitude, whatever it is. Those big guys with the red robes that are walking around. Those are
Mhm.
great.
Oh yeah.
There's like 10 Force religions introduced in Jeddah alone. And
And they're
I
all
wanna
just
learn
still
all
there.
about them. And it's like, they
Ish,
were.
They were at that
Yeah.
point in time when when we were first dropped on Jeddah.
When
They're
we
still
When
there.
we first meet them, and then, but yeah, no, Jeddah itself as a setting is like my favorite thing. I know it's another desert planet, but like just the mystique, like these giant Jedi like statues that have since toppled over, and like the holy city of Jeddah that's been there for like thousands of years. And like it's where, like we learned in the High Republic, it's like where a lot of Jedi go, like pilgrimage, like a holy like pilgrimage to Jeddah, and it's like, you know, a place really spiritually powerful for not only the Jedi, but like the Guardians of the Will and the Temple of Kyber. Like they just have like a giant temple of Kyber crystals that was ransacked and they were driven away.
Right.
And
Yeah.
I love that whole like religious persecution aspect of the Empire that you don't get like a ton of. Obviously you get it for the Jedi, but it's like not just the Jedi. You see like the other side of the galaxy. You see the other people who are affected by this kind of purge. You know?
And I think that's what Rogue One does really well, that maybe I didn't acknowledge back in the day, 5 years ago, that like it's the first, I guess, I mean, the Clone Wars did it, right? But it's the first film that kind of like shows you maybe how big the galaxy is, and it shows you kind of like up close and all these other things going on. Like we see a Force user that isn't a Jedi essentially, and that's the first time in like a film I think that happens in Chirrut. So and just everything going on in Jeddah. I mean, I'm with you guys that's just amazing. It's cool seeing. I remember in the trailer, I think you see the toppled over Jedi statue.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh man, that's like, it's chilling in a way. It's cool, but
it's massive. Like,
yeah.
and I just want to know all about Jeddah. Like, and the Jedi,
Yeah.
you know, got their name from Jeddah, maybe.
Jedi.
I don't know.
But
I mean, like I would assume it was
No.
probably backwards. Like the Jedi were there first, and then they named it Jeddah. But like,
after Jeddah, yeah.
I love just
interesting.
still finishing with Chirrut and Baze though. That I can't believe they got Donnie Yen to be in a Star Wars movie. First of all,
Right.
like,
Didn't his
that's-
daughter get him to
something
be in
crazy
Star
like
Wars?
that. And
Yeah.
like, I just love that because he's such an icon himself, and like he pretty much just was his regular role, but as like a force sensitive like ninja instead.
And I'm trying to find a picture of Donnie Yen with I think it was his son dressed up as the.
Yeah, I've seen that
character.
picture before.
Trying to look for
It's
it.
just so cute. I just love that, and like I love Chirrut in general. He's probably one of, if not my favorite character in Rogue One. But like I love how there's literally the one throwaway line. They put the bag on his head, and he's like, "Are you kidding me? I am blind."
I'm
like
blind.
it's just,
And he has those fun quips as he's fighting. That
Yeah,
I
it's
think
great.
is why we
dude.
love
Is your
you
foot
know,
okay?
the Jedi.
Yeah.
Is that part of Jedi training? You guys need to learn quips while you fight.
No, it's
you
not.
gotta-
It's
You gotta
not
distract your
because
opponent. You
a
gotta make
lot
him
of
laugh.
them are quite the big stiffs, but then you have a lot that are like quite chatterboxes.
Obi-Wan
and so
has
you
some
have
quips.
like both.
Yeah.
Yeah, Obi-Wan is a quipper.
Anakin
So
did
is
a little bit, I
Anakin.
think. Yeah.
Mace
Yeah.
Windu, stiff.
Yeah.
Mm,
So
They came from the same school or something of I don't know.
Yeah.
come here. Got something to show you. He's not a total stiff. In the Revenge of the Sith video game, he's got quite a few quips
Come
when
here,
he's
I'm
fighting
gonna show you
Anakin.
something.
true. Okay. But God, I love Jedi. I love all the planets on Rogue One or in
Yeah.
Rogue One. I think
Yeah.
that if anything, that is like my favorite piece of it is we have all these new planets. So everything from the prison planet Wobani, which I went to on vacation a
Wobani.
few
Yes.
episodes back, if you guys remember that one. Wobani, the Ring of Kafrene, Jeddah, Scarif, of course,
Oh,
and
yeah.
Yavin. So
And
we like
Edu, although Edu
yeah, Edu.
stinks. No,
Yeah,
me too. I
Edu-
don't.
Cool,
Edu
but-
is so boring. Like the movie slows down right in the middle, of the movie.
I like Edu.
Edu
It's
slows
cool.
down, and I
Creepy
get bored.
facility.
I fall
It's a-
asleep.
it's a
Then I
good
wake up.
moment.
Nah, I
after
felt
the-
there were too many planets. I couldn't
There,
keep.
there were a lot, but and
I
it's one of
couldn't
the
keep
few.
track. I think on the first viewing, I was just like, "What the hell is
Oh
going?
yeah, no, definitely.
Where
It's
are
one of
we
the few
now?
movies
I don't
that
know."
does the
But-
subtitles for the planet
Yeah.
too.
Yeah,
Yeah,
That's cool.
Mustafar. We see Mustafar too. We see
Right.
Vader's
Oh,
castle
yeah.
for the first time. That was where Vader's castle was introduced.
Right.
Oh.
That blew my mind.
Jeez, I always forget that because it's like that's
Oh my
everywhere
God.
now.
And seeing Vader in the tube or in the tub,
That was sick.
chilling in his hot
Yeah.
tub.
And
Great stuff.
And the guy just like runs up,
who's
My
his
lord.
guy there with him?
the assistant or whatever.
Old man, whatever. I
Yeah,
don't know his name.
I'm shocked.
Old
we don't
man
know his name.
Jenkins.
Old man Jenkins. Levi, I know you listen to our podcast. You'll probably be texting me his name.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Eventually. So
Yeah,
That
get
guy
on
has
that.
like a long backstory. I can't remember what. But speaking of long backstories, my other favorite part within Rogue One is something that's really small, that isn't even like talked about in the movie, but it's just like come about from like notes afterwards. But I love the scene of all the senators talking to each other on Yavin. So
Yeah.
Mon Mothma, Bail. When Bail
Bail.
Organa showed up,
Oh,
I was
man.
so excited for so. And then my heart got ripped out because he's just like, I trust her with my life at the end, and I'm like,
Oh, I think
Yeah.
this was the movie where I made that tweet, Matt, about I need the House of Organa like skincare routine.
Ooh, hell yeah.
he
It's
did.
literally, yeah,
He looks so good. Jimmy Smits looks so good. Like
he looked
whew.
great. 20
He
years later, whatever.
still does.
He's got gray hair, but it's fine.
I know.
But yeah, like
Distinguished.
that scene with all the senators like talking about are they going to go to war? And it's really powerful because it's something that you know happens within like the original trilogy, but like you seeing them pretty much deciding, hey, are we going to actually do this is like really cool. My favorite like small part of that is there's one senator there from Terrace, which like you don't, it's not
Right.
said that she's from Terrace, but that was obviously the planet in Knights of the Old Republic, where you get crash landed and then there's the rat ghouls running around, which I always make fun of. But knowing that this senator was from Terrace was just like really cool to me, and I just like I thought that was cool that they like brought it in. And then like plus she's also wearing a necklace that is from House Robb, which is there was a senator from Terrace that is one of like Padme's close associates in the prequels, and so you see it during the Clone Wars. And so like there's like a connection there that like yes,
Wow.
this is like a long like line of senators like going on, and so it's kind of still Padme's associates are still going on into the rebellion, not just with Bail, but also this newer Teresian senator, which I think her name was Senator Pamelo. But yeah, she's like the female senator with like the white hood, and she's incredible. I love her. Low
That's
key,
great.
other
I
my
didn't-
favorite character in Star Wars.
I knew
Or in
nothing
Rogue
about
One.
that. So that's cool.
Yeah,
That's super cool.
yeah, it's
All
really fun.
I can think about in that scene is what's she proposing?
Yeah.
What is she
In the
proposing?
back.
What is she
What is she
proposing?
saying?
that.
It's like Larry David in the background. Someone give me a bottle of scotch.
I love that. I think the guy who says that is the one with the beard. That senator. I always forget who it is, but
Yeah.
it's the actor that plays Anderson in Sherlock. And so every time I see him, that senator, I'm just like, Anderson, face the wall. You're putting me off. Every single time I see him, that's all I can think of. And I'm just like,
I love
it's great.
I love Radis. Radis is one of my
Yeah.
favorite.
Oh, Radis is great.
characters.
Great.
I love that the Senate votes not to enter a war, and he's just like, yeah, whatever, and he just goes anyway, and he just does it anyway. I love it. That's so perfect. Like Radis literally starts the Galactic Civil War. And that's
Pretty
perfect.
much, yeah.
And I
And then
love
like
it.
getting a ship named after him and then The Last Jedi and whatnot is so
It's even
cool.
better.
And
That is
Mhm.
like
there's
like,
a lot of parallels.
really
and
fitting.
not call forwards to like the sequels in this because
Yeah.
and call forwards to other things too because of Bad Batch
Project
stuff.
War Mantle. Yeah.
Yep.
And, hyperspace tracking. So two
Yeah.
call
Project
forwards
Darksaber.
to yeah.
Project Darksaber. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
an interesting one.
Yeah, I remember that. I caught that this time.
I guess my favorite thing from Rogue One, I mean, it is, we talked about it, but it's Scarif. It's just such a beautiful backdrop. And just, I remember the
Yeah.
promo pics of the stormtroopers in the tropical water with the palm trees and
Mm.
everything. It's
Wading
like,
through the water, like, oh, my boots are wet, guys.
which
this
I don't even think,
stinks.
I don't even know if you see those guys go through the
No, you
water.
don't.
There's
don't
like a handful of like regular stormtroopers, but it's mainly
remember
the
the
shore
shore
troopers, which
Yeah,
are one
shore
of my
troopers.
all-time favorite variants of stormtroopers. If I
Yeah.
had any Rogue One merch around the house, it might be a shore trooper figure somewhere, but I don't know.
We
It's like
have,
Such a
Kinda.
random like variant. Like,
It's so cool.
let's make beach variant stormtroopers.
Why
Like,
not?
it's
right?
weird. I said this, I think, when we were watching Rogue One a few weeks ago, and the whole thing with Endor and the whole thing with the stormtroopers wearing white and the rebels were wearing
Century
camouflage.
Moon.
They were like, it kind of showed the Empire's arrogance of like, oh, we don't need camouflage. We're just going to smoke these guys. Now, all of a sudden, the Empire has camouflage like stuff a bit.
on the
'cause
beach.
On the
It's like,
beach.
oh no, they spotted us. Lie down. And
Or even, like-
what's the plan here, guys?
Even the Death Troopers, I mean, they're just, it's a black armored
Right?
outfit.
Yeah.
So like, that can be a bit more camo than white.
We could
So,
talk about Death Troopers forever.
yeah, I mean,
Oh, we didn't talk about Lamu
If we're
either.
gonna-
There's another planet.
There you go.
Forget Scarif. Forget Scarif being my favorite thing. The trooper variants in Rogue One are the best trooper variants we've seen in Star Wars, I think. Scarif
Yeah,
Trooper, Death Trooper,
Death Trooper.
And
am I forgetting
the
one?
trooper with the batons.
Oh,
that
the
leads-
patrol
Oh,
trooper.
yeah.
Like
That is cool. That
Those
would be
are
my
my
job in
favorites.
the Empire.
I think we're
Love
talking
it.
about two
You're
different troopers.
You're good. The one
So-
Jyn disguises herself.
Yeah,
as.
so like
Yeah.
the landing gear one, but there's also one in like the tank on Jeddah. That's
Oh,
a
yeah.
different trooper
Tank
variant.
trooper.
That's a
Right.
different helmet.
That's
Which
right.
they've reused a lot since. They've reused
They
it
have.
in Mandalorian. They've reused it maybe in I don't think in anything else, but they've reused it in Mandalorian at least. This is like the first time we really start seeing like trooper variants is like within Rogue One, because obviously in The Force Awakens we get the new version of the Stormtrooper, but
Yeah.
that was to be expected, and so we're going to see like those variants, but like actually seeing more variants in Stormtrooper armor, in classic Stormtrooper armor, hasn't happened before, really. And Rogue One is the first place we're like really seeing it, and then it opens the door of like we have like the Mud Troopers in Solo, which I absolutely adore.
Yeah.
Love the Mud
But like in Rogue One, we get the Shore Troopers, we get the Death Troopers, we get the Patrol Trooper, we get the landing crew. And then we see them pop up again later in different media. So like in The Mandalorian, my favorite little mashup is we see the Shore Troopers again in Mandalorian, which was really, really exciting to see. As you can see, I really loved like talking about like the trooper armor apparently. But the other really cool part in that episode in Mandalorian season 2, when they blow up the refinery, I forget the name of the episode, but you know, the one when he works with Migs.
The Believer.
The Believer.
Yeah.
Believer.
And in which they take the transport, which is kind of similar to the prison transport in the beginning of Rogue One. Is it the same thing?
Not exactly the same thing, but it looks
Similar.
almost the same. I
Similar.
mean, those are based on the clone tanks. You know, the ones with the wheels.
Right.
Obviously.
Which is kind of, they're using a variation of that in the beginning of Rogue One. But anyway, in that episode, Migs and Din steal trooper armor, and it is a blend of mud trooper armor, like from like the waist, like the coat and like the shins and everything. But the helmet is a shore trooper helmet. Not a short trooper helmet.
Tank
it's
trooper.
the tank trooper. Just painted the same color, and it's that green. And it was just so cool for me to see. Literally, like my two favorite stormtrooper variants, which are short trooper and mud trooper, combined together. And then you see the shore troopers running out, and they're all like cheering, and it's just
we see the
really
shore
cool.
trooper trying to get his lunch.
Oh my gosh, shore
yeah.
trooper with Trey. How could we forget?
Poor guy.
But yeah,
So
this all
funny.
came about because of Rogue One.
Yeah.
So there you
have
go.
it.
The
The
costumes.
connections.
I have it.
The call
That's-
forward.
Surprise.
that's what
Amy
got
likes the
me.
costumes.
I really don't like Jin's outfit.
No, it's nothing special, I guess.
I
I
would
like
say.
Jin's outfit. I mean, but I don't love Jyn. I don't know.
I like.
she's
Cassian more
soldier.
than I like Jyn.
She's all over the place. She's like,
she has no
I'm not a rebel.
personality. I mean,
okay, now I am.
And then she's
not
a
that she
rebel.
needs it, but
Now I'm not.
No,
now
I'm
I
not.
don't care. Now I do. Now it's like, okay, all right, guys.
Also, like in my mind, I just kept thinking of the "Oi, Mister, you're my dad" meme every time. Like she just runs into like, nope, that's her real dad. Nope, it's not. I don't know. Too many daddy issues for one Star Wars movie.
Too many dads.
Which is a lot to say.
a lot of
Too
Star
many
dads.
Wars.
I know. Star Wars is literally all about daddy
Too many
issues.
dads.
All 9 films are about daddy issues.
We haven't even
Um,
talked about Saw Gerrera.
I was just about to bring him up.
I
didn't
Speaking of
want
daddy
to
issues,
mention
Saw
him.
Gerrera.
is
But-
always the punchline of every joke it seems we make. Save
Saw
the dream.
Gerrera. Save the dream.
Forrest Whitaker plays him so well. I know
He was
I know
originally
you
supposed to
want
be
him to be
bald
more
in the movie.
serious, but he's crazy, and I love it. I love that he's like gone nuts and just like completely deteriorated over the years. There's just something about Crazy Saw with his crazy hair, sending like the boar gullet on poor Bodhi Rock. Boar gullet.
I always forget about the Boar Gullet.
Dude, Boar Gullet is the most random inclusion in a Star Wars movie I think I've ever seen, or any Star Wars property in general. And I
Why
think they did it just to meet their animal quota, because like each Star Wars property needs like an animal.
There's
Each
really
Star Wars
not that
property
many
needs an
creatures in
animal.
one.
There's none. The Boar
Just Boar
Gullet is
Gullet.
like it.
Boar
So
Gullet?
they were sitting there like, we have to add an animal, and they're like,
Boar Gullet?
And it's
Boar
funny
Gullet.
because Boar Gullets, as revealed later on in like the Dr. Aphra comics, they're not animals, they're aliens. But they're like this, they're like an in-between between like sentience and like non-sentient, and they have like feelings and like ideas and stuff, but they're not super expressive, and they like just feeling your head and digging around in there.
I don't-
Hey,
I
yeah,
don't
good buddy.
understand why Bodhi had to be tortured because he
No.
seemed the same before and after. And I'm
Yeah,
like,
well-
what makes him
It just doesn't.
mad or lose his mind? He's got a stutter. Like that's not what you think that is.
Yeah.
Like he's fine, man.
I
he
think
snaps
that
out of it almost immediately.
yeah, because like with Bodhi, I think that because they tortured him to get all the information, make sure he was telling the truth and whatnot, and then I think he was just kind of like sitting there in shock more so because he's just kind of like muttering away to himself before like Baze is just like hey, and then are you the pilot? And then that's like what literally snaps him out of it. Like he has like a moment, and he's like, yeah, I'm the pilot. I'm the pilot. I love Bodhi.
I feel like he was supposed to have more of a part in there, but he just kind of takes a back seat.
Oh yeah.
Which makes me really sad.
Bodhi,
I
so
like the whole
unfortunately.
reformed pilot thing. I think that fits very well into this story. I mean, you have K2SO, who, you know,
The reformed
reprogrammed droid. Yeah.
Yeah, you have the Imperial droid, you have the reformed droid, you have the reformed pilot. I don't know. It would have been cool to have them to have more time together. I think it's I also thought about this too. Like, because Star Wars loves their trios, you know?
Yeah.
And this one doesn't really have a trio. There's two duos and K2SO and Cody.
Well, K2SO is part of the Cassie and K2 duo, and then
Then it becomes
I
the
would
Cassie
say
and Jyn
Baze
duo.
and Chirrut.
And then kind of K2 with Cassian and Jyn.
Yeah. So part of
so
me was like, was Bodhi meant to be like the trio and then something happened?
I don't know. I mean, like, I love Bodhi. Bodhi Rook
I love
is
him
like
too.
literally
a
one
boy.
He gets to name drop the movie, but
yeah, he probably
Right.
is like my favorite character like in Rogue One, and he consistently gets like shafted the entire movie.
Dude.
And in like all of the marketing, he was like left off of like half
He's
the
the only one
posters.
without a
Almost
vintage
he's on the
collection
very
figure.
bottom.
He didn't
Jamie,
get
you're
a
forgetting
figure.
a major character that's also your favorite. Melshi.
What are we looking for?
Oh yeah, I love Melchi.
Melshi,
Explain. Melchi though. We'll get back to Melchi. But with Bodhi, like he didn't get a figure. He did not get a figure, an action figure at all.
I have no. I have.
Till now.
He got a Force Link
Yeah,
originally
the
when like
little
Rogue One
skinny
was
ones.
originally released, but now
Um,
they're like doing all of like the TVC vintage collection re-releases, and he doesn't have one, and he looks way out of place. Like I have the whole Rogue One crew and all these like high quality figures, and then he's just kind of sitting there looking like a derp. And I'm like,
one
come
of the
on, dude.
things that Hasbro is doing is they're releasing a new re-release line of Rogue One figures for the 5th year anniversary. This movie has been out for 5 years already. And they're making a Bodhi figure with it. And that's just super exciting because like I think if anything, we're probably going to pick up Bodhi like right away. Cause like I love Bodhi. He's just like
Black
a really, really
Series?
fun character. Yeah, I think they're gonna be Black
Justice for
Series.
Bodhi.
Yes, Matt, it's gonna be Black Series, unfortunately for you.
Black Series.
Justice for Bodhi.
Justice
But
for
really though,
Slee.
like he's an incredible character. Like he hauled
Yeah, he
that like
is.
wire like across like the battlefield, and like the shore troopers are just like, "What are you doing?" And then like
I will
Melchi
say
saves
his death was the most shocking to me.
Yeah.
Whenever he's in the ship and the bomb bounces in and he looks and it just explodes, that blue that was like when like I was like, oh my god, this movie.
He like
What,
accepted
like,
it though.
this
He
is
looks
it?
at it and then
Yeah.
he just looks away and just closes his eyes because he's just like, "Well,
This is
I
it.
think
He's
that
like,
was
I'm
the
out.
point in the theater going. Didn't you and I had a moment, Matt, where we just looked at each other. We were like, "Wait,
Wait a minute.
everyone's gonna die.
Holy crap.
No
This is
one's
it.
leaving this." Because then it suddenly hit me of like, because they say it in New Hope, right? Like they're gone.
Mm.
So we're like, oh yeah, I forgot.
Yeah, no, when you're in the film like that, you're immersed in there. You're like, oh wait, these guys
Yeah.
are probably all gonna die. Yeah.
Mm.
So
I really appreciate
couldn't
that
believe
because
it.
it could have been so easy of like, well, I know the ending to this movie,
right.
Yeah.
you know, and I think that's why they did need all those characters, so you do care. That's
yeah,
a
and
hard
the
balancing
slow
act.
build up.
Yeah. You're
Introduce all those new characters, make you care about them, and then just rip it away.
yeah."
Like,
Yeah.
no matter what you feel about like where this movie stands, I would say this one does it right. In a way, I think a lot of other movies just can't, particularly
Yeah.
Marvel.
Yeah, it's tough to like literally introduce all of the characters at once in like the one movie and then just take them all at once. I mean, like you just said, like with like Marvel, but at least they have like a lot of like extra movies to explain each person before
Yeah.
just dropping them in,
Yeah.
or they'll drop them in and then they'll release like the next movie like about them,
Or give
Um,
like a TV
or-
show.
or
to
they'll
them.
wait like 10 years and then give them a movie.
Mhm.
But still, I think that with like Rogue One, I wish that I could have like felt more for Jyn Erso. I really, really wish I could, because she was literally like the main character, and if anything, she was the one I like felt the least for.
Yeah.
And
I can see
I
that.
really
I
struggled to
agree.
say that. I really struggled to say that because I know a lot of people love Jyn and they relate with Jyn, and I just didn't feel anything like with her. Like, obviously, yes, she's hurting for like she lost her father, but like he also, in a sense, kind of did abandon her, and like she also like realizes this, and so it's just like it's such a weird reunion to me, in which she obviously is so happy to like see him again, and he's happy
After
to
he
see
gets
her.
shot, she's
But
just like,
yeah,
okay,
it's
I'm
like,
back.
it's also
It-
just like, oh well, fine, whatever, and it's just so
I
weird.
think it's the too many dads. I think it's the too many conflicts with this character.
Yeah,
Because
a lot to unpack.
I struggle with the same thing as you do, Jamie. I love you and I, as well as Kathleen Kennedy, we love our brunette ladies in space.
That's right.
But yeah, this one, I think she probably is the weakest because it's too many dads, too many struggles going on.
Yeah.
All the other characters, like we kind of went through, they have like one clear thing and you can stick with that. And that's what makes all these characters work, and taking them away work. But with Jyn, it's just like there's just too much going on with her.
I
It's
feel
hard
like
to really feel for her in
Yeah.
what little time you really have with her, even though she is the main character.
Right. With Jyn, I feel like if she survived, or if she was appeared earlier, I feel like we would have gotten a lot more from her, and she would have developed it as something different. It's just, I feel like for me, she didn't really get a chance to develop. Like, yes, she makes the choice to help the rebellion, but I don't think that she developed at all along the way.
Yeah. And that standoff with Krennic should have had more of an impact than it did. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
agree.
rewatched it, and I'm like, why isn't this hitting with me as I feel like it should? Like,
I mean,
something
like,
missing.
Cassian takes the shot and is the one
Yeah.
who like
Yeah,
gets
again,
credit. Like,
Well, I don't think it was about the shot. I think it was about sending the plans. Like, she can face him now,
Yeah.
but like,
yeah.
she saw him execute her dad. She saw him when she was little too.
Yeah,
I don't
steal her
remember
dad and kill her mom.
Yeah, and kill her mom.
Yeah,
I'm like, why isn't this?
Find it.
Yeah, I don't know. There was no I am Jyn Erso, you killed my father, prepared to die, like moment.
Yeah,
You
I
killed
would
my
have loved
father.
to
they
have
should
that
have
as a
given
moment.
her. She doesn't. Does she have a gun in that
Yeah.
scene? or a
Oh, she has a
blaster?
gun. She has a
Yeah.
really unique one. Mm-hmm.
But does she point it? Are they in like a standoff? Because I almost feel like the way I remember that scene is he has a blaster pointed at her, and she's just kind of like, oh well.
Yeah, she's just kind of standing there, and then Cassie comes back. I mean, I thought it was good. Like, he comes back, like that's a good
Yeah,
twist. I don't know.
he comes back just to die later on. But I'm glad he came back because I wouldn't have liked him dying like
Down the
out of my
Falls
chest.
down
Down the
with him.
shaft,
Here,
yeah.
here I go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But speaking of Cassian, I want to get on Cassian because I actually really like Cassian. I love Diego Luna as Cassian.
Another person we would never have imagined was going to be in
Super.
Star Wars. Like,
super
Right.
into Star Wars too. I mean, he really seems like he's so grateful, and he better be because friggin' the Cassian show is taking forever to film. This was like a 5-year commitment for him because literally Cassian was announced right after Rogue One. Like not
yeah,
really
but that was
far.
like early, you know.
early
but-
thoughts. Yeah.
I
Early.
mean, look at the time period between when they announced Mandalorian and released Mandalorian, and now look at the time period between when they announced Cassian and when they haven't even released Cassian.
Yeah.
I'll be honest.
we're
I don't
still
remember
waiting.
when they announced they were going to make the Mandalorian.
Was
don't remember either.
2018, like November of 2018? No, sorry, November of
not that long ago.
2017.
Yeah,
And
but
then November 2018 is when
A
Mando
year
came
later,
out.
you get the show. Yeah.
It's funny, like thinking back on when they
Yeah,
announced
whatever.
versus when it was released, because my brain doesn't remember things like that.
Right. It's hard to remember like an
When
announcement.
that was
I
the
barely
first
remember when it
show
was
announced,
released.
was Cassian. Was like the first TV show that was like, whoa, that's crazy. They're gonna make a Cassian show, and then Mandalorian was like, we're gonna make a Mandalorian show. Here it is.
here it is.
Yeah.
And we're like, where's Cassian? I've been waiting. I mean, because that literally is going to be, I know you hate this, Jamie, but it's going to be Rogue 1.5. It's going to be like a continuation extension of Rogue One. The same way that the Obi-Wan Kenobi show is going to be an extension of Episode 3. It's like they plucked the most popular, quote unquote, movies, and they were like, let's make shows that extend that like feeling and that plot and those characters.
Makes
Would
sense.
it be
like
Rogue 1.5 or would it be Rogue 0.5?
Would
Because
it be
it's
just
before
like Rogue? It's just
Rogue
Yeah.
0.5
Rogue.
because
Rogue Andor.
Well, it's, just
Rogador.
it's 0.5, so it would be just Rogue because it's half.
Before.
Or is Rogue One just Andor point
2.
2.0?
What are we doing? What are we doing? Oh,
See, this is what
They just
happens, Matt.
Ow,
I'm like,
ow.
why do we need
I take
to
it
point
back.
I'm pointing
one
out
over these
the
things?
flaws.
I take
You
it
know
all
what?
back.
Just let Diego Luna just meet Jabba. That's all I want.
Yes,
Ooh,
Yeah.
that'd be-
let Diego pet Java. That's all he wants to do. He
So
just wants to touch it.
That
It took me
texture.
it took me a while to like Cassian, and it's funny because what took me to realize I like him is like he's essentially a spy, and I love
Yeah.
spy movies. You know, you guys know I'm a big James Bond fan, and I love other spy movies as well. And the opening scene, or not the opening scene, but Cassian's opening scene in
He
Rogue
straight up
One.
kills a guy.
It's
Yeah.
so sick. Like that alleyway they're in, and it looks so cool. And then he's like, "All right, buddy, sorry, I got to do this." He kills him, and
And then he kills his friend or his
it's
informant.
vicious. Yeah.
Mhm.
That is sick.
So if
Like,
Andor's like
Sick
that,
is in bad, but
Right.
sick is in good too.
if Andor's like that, I'm
I bet it
excited.
will be. It's
gonna be-
literally
it's gonna be a
like the
spy
same
show.
exact team who was behind Rogue One doing Andor. Like it's all
Yeah.
the same people coming back, except for Gareth Edwards, unfortunately. But it's like the
Right.
writer and the production team and all of like you know Diego Luna, all of them.
Oh,
on the
really?
back
Diego
doing
Luna's
stuff.
gonna be an Andor?
Yeah, he's gonna be
Wow.
Andor.
Crazy.
And it's so funny because are they going to de-age him? Or are
Nah,
they just
just
going to
give him,
like
from
play
what
it
I've
off?
seen, he has like longer hair, and that can make you kind of look younger, maybe. So
Yeah.
maybe they'll just
Yeah,
do
when
that.
everybody has longer hair when they're young.
He
Yeah.
looks young, anyways. I mean, he has
Just have him shave. He'll probably be like.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
like
That's
speaking of his
true.
long hair, I can really appreciate when they go undercover and he's wearing the uniform, and you can
Yes.
just see how clean cut every other person is.
except him.
He's clearly not. That still makes me laugh.
I know.
Not
didn't
as
even think
much
of
as the "aren't you a little short to be a stormtrooper" thing,
Yeah.
but like, dude,
Shave, maybe? Or like
We
do
haven't even
something?
talked about that sequence of them infiltrating Scarif, and
Breaking
so the
into
whole
the subway station?
Oh yes,
The
yeah, that's
team.
what I was gonna talk about. So I think that is so interesting.
It's
that,
great.
Like, obviously, they film the Star Wars movies for the most part in the UK and in like the surrounding area at Pinewood and whatnot. But they literally decided to overtake a London station, Canary Wharf, and they just made it look like Star Wars.
the
That
two.
is absolutely insane to me. That they
Like
just
it-
covered up the escalators,
Literally,
covered up
like,
the train
okay,
track.
Go
and
back
this
if
is
you
the
want to watch the
station.
movie again. Watch the scenes. There's like these random like slanty things in the background, and they're very
Escalators.
clearly like covers for the
Ew.
escalators
Yeah.
in this like train
It's
station, and
so
it's literally a
crazy.
train station.
That is
Like-
like my favorite like behind the scenes photo is like
Yeah,
a bunch of
it's
extra
so good.
stormtroopers just sitting in front, just sitting on one of the benches, and it just says Canary Wharf behind them, and I'm like, this is incredible.
Yeah.
Like, this is so stupid, but if I ever actually get to go to London one day, I would love to go to the Canary Wharf station just for that one reason, which is insane because there's a lot of other reasons I'd want to go to London, but here I
Right.
am, the one movie that is not my favorite Star Wars movie, but one of them. And I'm just like, that's one thing I really want to do because you don't get to like see Star Wars locations in real life, especially something that's a subway station. Like,
Yeah,
let me
important.
double check my notes. I talked about the planets. I talked about Rogue One Catalyst.
Vader.
Here.
Talked about Senator Pamlo and Terrace.
Buff Darth Shut up, Matt. Oh my god.
Buff Darth.
He was slowly rising.
Look at him. The rise of
I'm like, you're yeah.
rise
you're
of Buff
getting a zoom in
Vader.
of his
Buff
crotch.
Darth.
We have to talk about the Vader hallway scene. We have to talk about it.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yes. Of course.
We cannot leave that out because
Yeah.
it's one of the main things people talk about when they talk about this movie.
In prepping for this episode, we did not rewatch the episode. However, I did have to like redo my setup, and I could not think of anything. So they were like, "Oh, put the little Darth Vader plushie there," and I'm like, "All right, there he is."
I mean,
So-
Vader in general in this movie is phenomenal. I
Right.
lost my mind when he appeared on screen. There he is.
Everybody-
There he is appearing on screen.
Everyone
love
loses
this
their mind.
movie.
I
What's up,
thought
everybody?
my dad was gonna cry when I first showed him this movie, and he
I mean,
saw
it was-
Vader like that because he was just like, I've always wanted to see Darth Vader like kick ass like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right?
I
Because
never got that.
the limitations of the original trilogy don't give us the full power of Vader that we got in, say, like all of the old EU comics and books and the new comics, especially.
Yeah.
show Vader to be like this unstoppable, crazy killing machine. And while we do get some of that in the original trilogy, we don't get a lot of it. Like we don't get like him with a lightsaber just cutting people down mercilessly.
Mhm.
I
He's
mean, like,
badass, but he still has assistant manager vibes.
Well, of course he does.
he goes from choking the guys in Rogue One and doing all that, and then in A New Hope, which is like half an hour later, if
He's
that,
sitting there with his
he's literally holding
Mhm.
a guy, choking him, and throws him against a pole. So
He's
he
a little
lost, he
tired.
lost all of his energy.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
It's been a long day. He just got out of his bath.
Yeah, he's sleepy.
And he just lost the plans. He's not. I want to be in the best mood either. Didn't we
True.
watch? Yeah.
Yeah, we did. After we got out of Rogue One, immediately after we got out of Rogue One, and my brain was like mush because it was like leaking
Yeah.
out of my ears at this point. So I was like, oh my god! Like I was going absolutely crazy. As soon as we left, we were like freaking out in the car on the way home. We go, gotta watch A New Hope. We gotta watch A New Hope now. And it
It's
was like
1
3 a.m. Oh yeah, it was 1 a.m. And we got back to the thing. We all had like finals the next morning.
Yep.
Always how it
for-
goes
for
in
the first
December
semester.
releases.
Right, with the
And then boom, we had to watch A New Hope. It was
Remember
perfect.
Force Awakens? I came in with my like film studies textbook. I'm like, I gotta go at 8 a.m.
I know.
to do this.
Dude, that
And
was
I'm just
rough.
holding it. I didn't read it. I was just hoping I would just absorb
Just like
the information into my.
the back on the Vader thing, like I love the Vader Krennic scene. Obviously, we mentioned it earlier with he's taking the bath and he just gets interrupted. But I love how Krennic literally is just like, "Oh, well, are you gonna put in a good word for me with like the Emperor?" And Vader's just like,
Can I get a recommendation?
I love it. It is one of like the best Vader lines ever. Don't choke on your ambitions, and he's choking
Careful
him
not
with
to
the
choke
fuzz.
on your
It's great.
aspirations.
Like I'm not a Vader fangirl. I'm like as like little of a Vader fangirl like in the universe. But like I love that scene. Like
That's a great
it's so
scene.
good.
That's great.
right.
Yeah.
And it takes place in Vader's castle. I love Vader's castle. What a
Yeah.
location.
Well,
what a great
you
location.
know where they're going back to Vader's castle, and Matt, the Halloween Lego special.
Yeah, they are.
Yes.
I'll
I
watch
can't wait
one
for that.
sure. Especially because
Oh my
I just
gosh.
want to see Ren. I'm just
Right.
excited for Ren.
Yeah.
All right, so
We gotta
the-
talk about that when that comes out. I
Oh,
gotta.
Oh, we will.
Oh yeah, we'll do it.
Oh, we will.
um,
Very excited.
we
for
got to
that.
talk
remember,
about
like this year, I was able to find like after we watched the Lego like holiday one, the recent one that came out. My dad was all like annoyed with us, but I did find the original holiday like special.
Oh,
Oh
God.
boy.
Well, now they're all on Disney Plus, so you can just
the holiday
chill.
special. I don't think so.
Not the
No, I don't
holiday
think the
special,
holiday
but half
special
of the
is.
cartoons are. So at least
No, it's on YouTube.
There you
And that's
go.
when I
Yeah,
realized
there we
it's
go.
really a Thanksgiving special, not Christmas. But that's a
It's-
whole other conversation. We'll get back to it. But
While we're kind of on the holiday special topic, so the new Treasury of Stories came out. So Life Day Treasury of
Oh, yeah.
Stories, and so it's a George Mann and Kevin Scott stories. And so George Mann did all of like the legendy tales before, which are like in universe tales that will be told to people. And one of them is about the Kashyyyk Life Day, and it is about like Chewie's family. And it's towards the end. I haven't read it yet, but it is towards the end because I'm not in the Christmas mood yet. I'm shifted into the spooky mode because it's like finally September
That's what it
and.
is.
It's the spooky times. That's all it is.
It's like the guy in Courage the Cowardly Dog. The
Yes.
Return the Slab.
Return the
Return the
slab.
slab.
That's great. Oh no, we're way off topic.
We are.
Gotta
Woo!
reel ourselves
Wow.
back in.
All right.
Matt, was there anything else? You're
So-
Mr. Rogue One. So we
Buff
talked about
Vader.
Vader.
I know, but look at
Buff
Buff
Vader.
Vader.
Buff Vader's great.
He's,
For
dude,
you,
look at this. This is like one of my prized possession action
for you
figures.
audio listeners, Matt, describe your toy.
This is a Power of the Force Darth Vader. He's taken from a He-Man mold.
So that's why
and
he's so
great.
swole.
He's so swole. Look at him.
He's
I
It's
did the same thing
ridiculous.
with Buff Luke, right?
Yeah. I have
Yeah.
Buff Luke back there, but he's not really relevant. He doesn't appear in this movie.
I
But
should have
Vader,
brought my
Buff
Buff
Vader is in this movie.
favorite
100%.
cameo in this movie for Rogue One.
Chopper.
Chopper
Oh,
just
yeah.
rolling by in the background,
Chopper,
wop,
zoop.
wop, wop,
And
and
the
you just
ghost.
hear
Then you see the
General
ghost.
Syndulla, and
That
I
was perfect.
wish
I love that.
that like she was in it, but
That would be
seeing
cool if she was
Chopper
like
was
around
enough.
the table or something,
that would have
like,
been great.
at the senator meeting or whatever.
It was a senator meeting though, and then Jyn was just
Yeah,
kind of there.
So Hera could be there too. She could
What
just, like,
season
sneak
of Rebels
out
did the Rogue One come out during? Like 2,
Three.
3?
I think
Okay.
3. Because
was
3
almost
is when
like the
they
end.
did like when they had Saw and the Death
Right. They had
Troopers
that
and all
be this Yeah, they
Yeah.
had that kind of
They tied everything together.
lineup.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
probably wanted to put her in it, but they probably wanted to like tie up the story for Rebels first before they like tucked her in, because maybe they weren't sure exactly. They probably knew, but they didn't want to like reveal. Because like if you show like Hera, then you got to show like the rest of the Ghost crew maybe, and then people
Yeah,
wanted to have seen
all
Kanan.
I have a question about
was in
Jyn.
there.
Working
It's
out
the
or
end of
something. I don't know.
Rebels.
I have a
I'm glad we
question
saw
about
Chopper.
Jyn. When does Fallen Order take place?
Fallen
5
Order takes place
years.
5 years after the events of the Clone Wars.
Okay, and Jyn fought with Saw, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we see Saw in Fallen Order, the video game, and Seesaw. I'm wondering if we could see Jyn like with Saw at some
Maybe.
point.
I feel
To
like
get some
maybe.
more Jyn as well. But
How old is Jyn in Rogue One? Do we know? Is she like the regular protagonist
18.
age of 19?
I think so.
Sure.
That's usually how old. I feel like she might be a couple years older, but
Maybe she's like 22. I don't know
yeah.
why 22 is like.
Yeah, why not, right?
I don't
know.
know. She's
Well,
a
I mean,
soldier now.
'Cause
She's
if I'm remembering correctly, with Catalyst, Krennic and Galen
21.
Erso, they're working
21, okay.
not right away. They don't take him right away to like work on the Death Star tech, because a lot of it is he is working, doing his own research with like the kyber crystals and whatnot. He just wants to figure out how to make them a sustainable energy source. That's literally what Galen Erso is trying to do with the kyber crystals, is to make some nice like renewable energy with kyber crystals, which is, you know, really responsible of him. And then he finds out he can weaponize it by accident, as one usually does. The Empire finds out, and they're like, "We got to use this because, you know,
Wait,
we
you
gotta
can
use this."
weaponize kyber crystals?
Yeah,
Who would've
yeah.
thought?
Literally.
Weird.
They end
Who
up
would've thought
destroying.
that?
Like, they destroy so many like worlds by trying to harness it like within the world. So eventually, that becomes like what they do on Starkiller Base is like their like refined version of it. But they try to do that on like a lot of other planets, and like the planets kind of like implode on themselves. It's a hot mess. But
Pretty cool
like,
though.
it's
In
a
a
cool
bad
little
way.
story. But like, so that all happens, I would say, within 5 to 10 years after the events of the Clone Wars. It's kind of nebulous, and so like Jyn is with him the entire time, like during this, because the Ursos are all still a family unit living together. And then when Galen Erso decides to leave, you know, they go to Lamu. They're not like there that long, hiding, and then he gets taken back to the Empire to finish his work. So I don't think that it would work in the events of Fallen Order, but maybe
something
afterward.
else. Okay.
So
be
maybe
cool.
like eventually, like if they do a Fallen Order sequel, if they do a Fallen
Seesaw,
Order
doo-doo.
sequel, it could eventually turn into maybe like Saw will show up and Jyn will be there as well. Not
I
right.
like that.
I think
I
she would
like
be a
that.
little young still for like immediate Fallen Order sequel.
Yeah, you're probably right.
But
Oh well, eventually.
You never
that's
know.
still a good thought. We'll
Yeah.
see her eventually.
I'm excited for Andor. And,
Maybe she'll pop up
Yeah.
in Andor.
Probably not.
I don't know how that would work, but
Well,
who
Andor,
knows?
what, takes place only a little bit, well, a couple of years before Rogue One, I think.
She can't
Yeah,
meet
but she meets
Cassian.
Cassian for the first time.
Yeah, but like they work with Saw or they work against Saw, and they just encounter like a girl in his group at some point. And,
But she's
you know,
not
they
with
never-
Saw
Galen could
right
be.
away. She doesn't see Saw for a long time.
Seesaw.
I'm saying
Remember?
Seesaw.
doesn't Seesaw.
Seesaw.
He comes and gets her, and then he ditches her at 16. So there's like
Yeah.
a time period where she's working with him for quite a
For
while.
a little
because
bit,
she's,
yeah.
like,
and then
she's
and then
like-
she leaves.
maybe like 8.
Somehow, like Jyn
Rogue
like ends
One,
up like
the
doing
beginning.
something bad enough where she gets caught by the Empire under a fake name, ends up on Wobani in a prison
Yeah.
work camp.
And that has to
that's
happen
how we
in a
find her.
5-year
This is a
window
rescue
before.
Where you're vacationing.
where I'm vacationing. You're quite right.
I wonder where we'll see Saw next.
Golly,
All right.
I'm gonna kill you guys. Yeah.
All
I
right.
feel like there's something else. Oh yeah, Mon Mothma. I like Mon Mothma. She's great. The
Yes.
actress who plays her is great. She's gonna be in Cassian. And that's it. That's all I got. All right. I think I've hit all the points. I wanted
All the
to.
points. Ticked off all those boxes. Very good.
Yep.
Anything to add?
I don't know. Top K2SO quote.
Ooh. You are being
Cassian
rescued.
said I had to.
No,
That was gonna be mine.
want a fresh one? Or I got a fresh one for you when he slaps.
I love that because he's
I
like
love that.
laughing so hard.
I love when Alan Tudyk was when Anthony Daniels was on set, and he was like, "You bastard! You get to only do motion capture. I had to wear the stupid suit. I had to tuck in the suit for like hours on end
You
in like the hot
bastard.
desert sun, and you're just sitting there with your motion capture dots."
On stilts. Good
Yeah.
times.
Yeah.
I also like the one that's Cassian gives Jyn the blaster, or allows Jyn to keep the blaster, and K2's just there like, oh, do you know the odds on this one? High. It's very high.
Very high.
I
I'm gonna
like
say
I like when Jyn shoots like a different droid, and he's just like,
yes.
"You knew that wasn't me, right?"
Yeah.
Of
Good
course.
stuff.
And both like her and Cassian are just like trying to play it off like, of course.
His death, I think, and I know we're wrapping up here, but his death was probably the saddest.
I
one.
figured
Because
I
seeing the
figured
lights
out
go
all
out.
the people he was gonna die.
Right.
That
of
when I
course.
was going into it, I was like, droid's dead because it's a droid.
Yeah.
But his death, does it happen after Bodhi or before Bodhi?
No,
I think it happens
before. He's the first
Bodhi.
one.
Yeah. And it was like,
He's
okay,
like
First
first.
death, yeah.
you know, droid died. Sad times, but whatever. And then
Sad but expected.
all the
And then
humans
dominoes.
die, and I'm like, I'm a jerk for one thing because I'm like,
I love
shocked that
I love
humans are
K2
dying,
carrying
not
all the
droid.
boxes around, like I'm on
yeah.
Edu, because they
Yeah.
have to get their essential gear, and he's like strutting around to the boxes. It's
Yeah.
good stuff. Droids carrying crates, just why not, right?
Sure.
Exactly.
All right. Any last thoughts, guys, on Rogue
No,
One?
that's
Those are
what I
them.
already had.
No last thoughts in Rogue One?
Yeah, last thoughts.
All right, we're done. We're done about Rogue One right now. It'll probably come up again because I feel like in this episode it really showed that yes, we do like Rogue One, which is awesome, right? Swoopbacks are still going by outside, so that means we got to go. Anyway, thank you so much, Shelby, for joining us on our Rogue One episode, and thank you for talking movies with us. And we
For the
didn't
first
torture you with the
time.
game.
Life is too short to not like Rogue One, I think.
That's right.
That's good.
There you go.
I like that. I like that a
Put it
lot.
on a t-shirt.
There you go. Perfect. Love it. We'll not be in our shop because we don't know how to do that. Anyway, thank you so much for listening to the HoloNet Marauders podcast. You can find us everywhere at HoloNet Marauders. You can find Shelby at her social medias as well. Check her little link there. Links will be linked in the description for everything. Buff Vader looks like he wants to say goodbye as well. But anyway, thank you so much for listening to the HoloNet Marauders podcast. We will see you guys next time.